Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. The prevalence of terrorism, banditry, and kidnapping has increased in recent times. Last week, the headlines were filled with the abduction of the district head of President Buhari's hometown, the kidnap of the Universal Basic Education Commission's board chairman, along with his daughter, on the Kaduna-Abuja highway, and then the kidnap of 5 persons at the Government Girls Secondary School, Moriki, more recently on Saturday. Suspected Boko Haram fighters killed Nigerian soldiers in an attack on a military base in Borno. Joining us now to speak on the fight against insecurity is journalist and security analyst, Senator Iroegbu. Senator, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for honoring our invitation to appear on the morning show. You must have listened to the introduction that I gave about the serious situation we have found ourselves in Nigeria in terms of insecurity. And every day, the security chiefs talk about change of strategy, but we don't seem to be getting any results in terms of all these changes in strategy. What exactly do you think can be done? You are the expert. What ideas will you be suggesting to them?
Ideas I can be suggesting is in various parts. Their immediate response. The immediate response is to improve intelligence and coordinate their operation. Like right now, it seems as if the operations are haphazard. You find out that Air Force are doing their own, they have their own operation. Operation Diramikia, Army have their own Habin Kunama, police have their own Puff Ada, and I don't know if there's a synergy, if there is a joint operation being coordinated by one command. That's one. Then the issue of intelligence need to be improved. This is immediate response. But Nigerian security problem stem from the structure. It's a structural issue. It's just like where you have immune deficiency syndrome, which is manifesting in various symptoms, opportunities, diseases. That's what is happening to Nigeria. And you concentrate on the symptom. You say, oh, it's headache today, it's malaria, you are treating malaria. But you don't care to go to the root of the problem. You find out that you're going to be having issue. So Nigerian security challenges is more of structural in nature. And that's why you find that, but the people vested with the authority to deal with this issue have seemingly ignored this aspect of it. So apart from immediate response, which should be improved, deployment of the troops, but if look at the whole country, about the 34 of the 36 states of the country are facing security challenges. And you find out that our security personnel or forces are overstretched as we are talking to you. Even from the northeast to the south, especially the northeast, northwest. So the personnel, we don't even have enough personnel or manpower. Then the ones we have also shared between the security challenges we are having and those who are attending to the VIPs. So coming to the structural issue I'm talking about, there's something that is called local intelligence, and people have been suggesting about state policing, but it seems not to gain traction. Recently, the president directed the IGP to set up community policing. But this is a kind of agreeing with the state police indirectly. Why not look at it holistically? If we're going to have a state police, we have. Already, you know that nature abhors vacuum. We already have these vigilantes all over the country, which are ad hoc measures, some communities, state governments, and other structures of governance set up to tackle their own security challenges. But this has its own problem because one is not legitimate setup. Secondly, their operations are not professional enough. You still have issue of human rights violation here and there. But we can professionalize it in a way. If we set up this state police, also have community policing. Like if you check where we have federal government all over the world, we have their security architectures are in layers. But here we have a concentration of security architecture at the center, which is at variance, which is conflicting with the federal structure we have. Let's take US, for example. Apart from the federal police, each state have their state police. They also have National Guard. In addition, they have what is called neighborhood watch. These are layers of security structure that help to mitigate the security challenge, internal security issues they have. Then secondly, we don't even have, we're a country, right now we don't even know our population. We don't know who is a Nigerian. We don't even have the accurate data of foreigners who come into this country and for what purpose. So data in that aspect is actually lacking, and this poses a security risk in a 21st century security challenges. This also poses a problem, which I'm not sure we have even taken time to deal with it.
Okay, so let me ask you.
Another thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Quickly, no, what's the other thing?
Okay, go on.
Okay, great. So you've said that 34 out of the 36 states are facing different security challenges. So are we not backing up the wrong tree when we hold the feet of the federal government to fire? Everybody seems to turn to the federal government for security at the local government level. Isn't that a problem in itself? We have governors who, as chief security officers of your state, who get security votes. Don't you think that that in itself is a problem?
Yes, it's a problem, and that's why I'm talking about decentralizing our security architecture. In theory, governors are the chief security officer of their state, but in reality, in practice, they are what they call lame duck when it comes to security matters. They can only bark, but not bite. They can only bite to the extent they have the cooperation of the center. If the governors in those states or the charisma or the sagacity of the individual of such governor. But when you check Western society, what makes the society advance is the institutions. When the institutions are much advanced, even if you put a dummy, it will help to keep in check. Even if the weakness of that leader will not be as pronounced as we are having. Why all the eyes are at the center is because the center has control the largest chunk, in fact, almost all the security architecture, which is not supposed to be so in a federal system we are practicing. So when you decentralize our security architecture and give the control of the police to some of these, you know that the blame will lay squarely on each governor. So if you allow your state to deteriorate, the security situation in your state to deteriorate to the extent that you don't have investors, you don't have people coming in, we actually know who to hold responsible. You wouldn't be talking about the president. Then that's why I'm talking about decentralizing. That's why people have been calling for state police and community policing. I know people have a lot of misgiving about it, talking about, see, some governors may use it to, but have we even tried it? They say it's insanity to keep on trying the same thing and failing. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be consistent, but you should be consistent with dynamic in your consistency, using different strategy, looking for the same solution. So this issue of decentralization of our security architecture, which I talked about, should be considered. Then another thing is taking responsibility for actions. Here you find head of security agencies or the commanders or whatever not taking responsibility. Look at what happened in the, let me start from far, then I come closer. In Sri Lanka, for example, the recent Easter bombing, what happened? The police boss, what we call Inspector General of Police equivalent here, resigned. The Minister of Defense was relieved of his post. Okay, let's come close to home here in Africa. In Chad, when Chadian forces lost about 23 of their officers and personnel, the Chief of Defense Staff was relieved of his post. You check what happened in Burkina Faso here, when the militants struck and the state of insecurity was getting out of hand, the Prime Minister and his whole cabinet said, look, we have failed in this bid. They're throwing the towel. Look at what happened in Mali recently. After the killing of some Fulanis, about 100 of them, by other tribes, the headers, the Prime Minister there resigned that this happened under his watch. What is it that resignation solves the problem? No, yes and no. Resignation can solve the problem in a way that you are bringing in a new idea, a fresh mind. For example, look at the approach of the current IGP compared to the one he replaced. You cannot compare the two. If the government would have insisted that the other IGP continue, you wouldn't have known that there's a different idea someone can bring in. Another thing is the moral burden on our leadership. That's what those resignation or sack embodying, telling the people who are taking over that, look, if you don't up your ante, if you don't up your game, this is what will happen to you. So in order to sum up what I'm saying is, one, we need to decentralize so that we can know where to lay our blame squarely. We can actually hold our government, our local government, our governors and local government responsible so that they don't have excuses of looking at the center. But if the center continue to hold everything at their own, the blame will go to them because they have the control of the security architecture. For example, I give you an example what happened in Nibo like 2 years ago when the herdsmen attacked the Nibo community. The governor had a security meeting and instructed the commissioner what to do, but the commissioner didn't take such a directive because the directive will actually come from the IGP at the center, and the IGP have to take directive from the president. And you find out that when it comes to urgency like that, it doesn't work. It can work for some governors who have the blessing of the president or the center who have some friendly relation. But it's not in all the cases. So, and we can't rely on such trial and error mechanism.
Well, Senator, there was a point you alluded to earlier on when you were identifying, the problems that we face. You talked about lack of cooperation among the various security agencies. We had a former commissioner of police on this program last week, and he drew attention to the same challenge. And what he said was that, look, there is rivalry among the agencies, and that, the various heads of the security agencies, they want to impress and they want to be the ones to be given the credit for solving a particular problem. How do we address this personality conflict, this problem of ego, and to ensure that at the level of the leadership and even at the rank and file level, these security agencies work together? Because government is saying, look, everyone must collaborate to deal with insecurity, even communities should get involved. Isn't it ironic that the heads of the agencies themselves and their teams are not working together just because they want to take credit?
Yes, obviously, you just kind of amplified what we're talking about. And the challenge we're having here is sometimes I'm not saying sometimes, most times we mix security issues with politics. Yes, security can be politics by other means, but it's played in a different rule of engagement. There are rule of engagement, the ethics, the dynamics guiding security. And that's why you see in why I always cite advanced country, because we want to learn from the best practices. So if you want to aim, like you want to get 80%, you aim 100%. When it comes to security issues, you see the conservatives and the Labour or Lib Dem in UK merging forces, forgetting about their political differences. Or in US, you see the Republicans and the Democrats forgetting about their differences. But here, everything is politicized, and political patronage is and that's why you see head of these agencies trying to impress, try to be heard, try to hug
Limelight.
the limelight. But the limelight, so which is not supposed to be so. There should be a mechanism for joint operation, like in this case. It can come from we are not saying that the component part shouldn't have their operational mechanism, but there should be a central command, which the defense headquarters, supervised by the Minister of Defense, should take charge of, so that you'll be able to coordinate the activities. We have done it before. Recently, I was reading a book by a retired Air Force officer, senior officer, Air Commodore, who fought gallantly in Sierra Leone and Liberia. I see how there was a joint operation and coordination between all the forces, especially the air and the land forces, and with significant success, and it helped. But here, I've not seen that working very well. So it's something that maybe the president, who can wield this power, since he controls, he is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, can bring the warring parties together. Who doesn't comply? You have the power to fire and hire, so that you define their rule of engagement and how this thing should work. But if you leave it open like this and the way it works, he who shouts loudest is the one who is recognized. That's how it works in Nigeria. You can even see how compensation are those who carry arms and make the highest killing are the one who state calls to dialogue. But if people are still carrying placard and talking and raising their arms, you see their possibility of being rendered arrested or mowed down is higher. So this attitude should be divorced from our security architecture, our security ethics, our security character.
Well, I hear you. You make a case for the dangers in politicizing security. But let me ask you, because you also talked about state policing as, a solution to what we are facing. Why do you think it's so difficult for us to, go for state policing, adopt state policing? Because those who make a case against it, fear that it could be abused by political actors. But haven't they lost their argument when you look at what we presently have? Almost every state has their own community policing, civilian JTF, neighborhood watch. Have they not lost their argument? And why is it so difficult to adopt the strategy of state policing?
Why it is difficult is power of status quo. If you listen very well to the current party in power, when they were in opposition, most of things we that are analyzing and talking, or active citizens that are talking now, we are the things they were campaigning with. And that's why the citizens find out, oh, you are actually seeing what we are seeing. Let us put you there. But this power of status quo, when people get in, it takes over. It takes someone who has the political will, strong vision, selflessness, to actually look at this issue and act on it. But do we have it, or can they prove it wrong? it's not as if APC or what the party is averse to this, because it was part of even restructuring, which people have been campaigning so as to at least help Nigerians to stop lives from being wasted. Like you say, the fear is that people conversing this, that is going to be abused. People is the Nigerian security as it is currently is now. Is it not abused in a way that lives are being lost? Like I say, we have not even tried it. It's not as if state police is going to solve all the problem immediately it comes. No, but if we are getting like, I'm not saying that, like I told you, our problem is structural, and that's why we have one of the best security personnel architecture. They do well when they go to where the structure is working well, and that's why when they go to peacekeeping or whatever, they excel. But what is limiting them here? Structure. So if the structure is not working, why not try another system? If that system is still yet improve, and that's why if you check cars, they keep on bringing new models every time. Look at what happened to Boeing 737 MAX. They've gone back to kind of check what is wrong. Is it that they are going to go back to what they used to have in 1980? No. Or they say, because of this, we are not going to try. Okay, look at what is happening in SpaceX, trying to take civilians to the space tourism. There have been several trials, and they keep on failing. What they do, they go back and keep on tinkering and find a way to it. The other time when I was in France, I tried to discuss, because of then, this issue of restructuring was, I tried to understand how their government works. Yes, they practice unitary, but over time they started devolving power. They said there was a time they decentralized power to the regions, the province. At a time they brought it together again. They find that it's not working. They start decentralizing again. This is how society look at the UK that we gain our independence from. In name they are unitary, but over time they started decentralizing. Give more autonomy to Scotland, to Northern Ireland, and Wales. That is how the world is working. You check if things are not working, you look for a new system. And that's why people have even tried the state police. It's still us. If we try it, it doesn't work. We can change it. But staying static and saying because of fear, and you stay one place, and it's not working, lives are being lost, in large numbers, the arguments are defeated, and it's anarchist and retrogressive.
Senator, in recent times, there have been, constant references to the involvement of the Islamic State and the Islamic State West Africa province in the crisis of insecurity that we have in Nigeria. At other times, we're told, well, foreign elements were involved in the insecurity challenge in Zamfara State and other parts. Sometimes it's Libya. People bringing small arms and weapons from Libya that we get to know about. How serious, is the involvement or the impact or the role of these foreign actors, if any, in the challenge that we face?
Okay, thank you for bringing this and reminding me, because it's one of the something I wanted to discuss. I forgot. I talked about immediate response, coordination of security operation, then checking the security architecture of our country, and the restructuring, also checking our defense policy, is it up to date, and all that. It's another one, which is in two parts, is actually our inability to define our security challenges. What is actually our security challenge? It still boils down to the whole thing I'm talking about. You see, today, government is calling these bandits in the northeast, call this one terrorists in the bandits in northwest, terrorists in northeast, herdsmen, in North Central, call them all manner of names. But we have not even tried to define the underlying factors. Coming to what you are talking about the foreign, the other day, the government made kind of allegation that it was the mining activities influenced by foreigners that are influencing the banditry. Yes, that's, I'm not saying it's a lie. Then the other day, you say, okay, you are meeting with Mieti Allah, and you are talking of settling and dialoguing with the herdsmen in connection with the banditry. That's another aspect we don't even understand. Is it the mining? Is it the herdsmen? Who are these? Then the issue of foreign influence, have we even, apart from coming to make statements, have we even taken actions? Sometimes it seems as if those who should take actions are lamenting like the citizens as we are now talking, because that's the only weapon we have to remind government, see what you're supposed to do, see what you're supposed to do. Government are supposed to take action. How many people have been arrested? You check what happened. Sri Lanka is not that much advanced than Nigeria, but within days or hours of the people are arrested. They don't care whether it's foreigners or not. The same thing happened everywhere. If something happened, since all these attacks, since all this, who has been arrested? You see government come and say some of the sponsors are my government, or it's a foreigners that are coming to kill people. How many of these foreigners have been arrested? That's one. Then secondly, how have you been able to link what happened outside their borders to what is happening and know how to mitigate it? I've already talked, have we been able to even define how many we are in this country and how many foreigners are in this country and know who and who? For example, I've read some things that are going on in Burkina Faso and Mali between the Fulani herdsmen and the locals there, similar to what is happening here. What was the allegation of the locals in Mali, the hunters? Is that some of these herdsmen are aligned with the Islamist militants, the jihadis in Mali. That was their anger, whether far-fetched or founded. But have we been able to connect the activities of bandits, of the herdsmen in Mali to that in Nigeria? Have we been able to connect the activity of bandits in Zamfara to what is happening in Benue? Have we been able to link the activities of ISIS or ISWA in Northeast to what is happening in Zamfara? Have we been able to connect these dots? Or are we just treating them as isolated cases? So we have not come to look at our security architecture as a whole, then be able to dissect it. But we're just treating it, like I told you, like an HIV victim, and you're just treating headache separately, malaria separately, you treat tongue infection separately, and you treat those issues as if it's independent of the causative factors, which is a virus. Because of that, if it had been like that, nobody would have produced antiretroviral drug that would have been able to hold down this virus from manifesting these infectious diseases. This is kind of application attitude we are not adopting. So to answer you, recently the UK Foreign Minister, Jeremy Hunt, came to tour of West Africa, including Nigeria, and he warned that ISIS may escalate its attacks in the Sahel region, of which part of Nigeria is geographically included, including the part of the Northeast that is facing this problem. And which country are these Sahel region? It's our neighboring countries in the north, Mali, Chad, Burkina Faso, Niger, and so on, which is the hotbed of militant groups, all manner of militant groups.
Well, Mr. Iroegbu, the president is said to have weekly security meetings with security chiefs and those, involved in the security architecture of the country. But it would seem as if these meetings are not yielding anything. You have covered defense for a long time now. Do you get any sense at all that there's even an end in sight to all of these challenges, security-wise?
Like I said, if you failed to look at the main causative factors and you keep on treating the symptom, you are going to still facing the same problem. I go back to the issue because that's an example that comes to my head now I can be able to use to simplify my analogy. If you keep on an HIV/AIDS patient, you keep on treating malaria. Every time the malaria escalates, you call all team of doctors and give malaria drugs without looking at what is causing this malaria. You still
okay, so
not gonna
what should
have
be
any.
what should be priority now?
So what I'm saying is that
there are those who make a
priority
case for
now,
funding. Mr. Well, let me pass this. There are those who make a case for funding. There are those who say leadership. The service chiefs have overstayed their usefulness. There are those who say, the president himself is not taking a decisive stand. So what should be the priority now? Because we cannot throw our hands in the air and say, this is beyond us.
Like I've already alluded to this. I'm not going to stand here and say somebody should be relieved of his duties. But the president should know the action to take. If you appoint someone and the person is not meeting your expectation, or there's a law of diminishing return that's set in, definitely it happens, then there should be change of personnel. But if they are acting within your expectation and standard, and you leave them and things are going wrong, the box still stops on your table and the blame should be on you. So if you feel that is the change of personnel that is required, like I told you, change of personnel works, but not enough, but is helpful. And I've cited the example of the IGP that was the one that retired and the new one we have. Sometimes when they are appointed, within the first year or 2 years, they actually do well. Maybe over time, because of the natural law of diminishing return, things begin to, then maybe it's a time to have fresh mind, fresh perspective. But beyond that, which I said before, that this is can be an immediate action, is the issue of looking at what is even our national defense policy. I know that during the time of President Goodluck Jonathan, they tried to update it. I don't know what has become of it now. Has it been completely updated? Do we have a comprehensive national defense policy that guides us, that takes cognizance of the 21st century, of the current security challenges, because it keeps on evolving. So you need to go back and update and reform. So do we have that? So back to what I'm saying, apart from having all these meetings, have we can expand that to look at our country as a whole. Security challenges today is not only when people take up arms. The issue of poverty, the issue of population explosion we're talking about is a bigger security challenge, because that's what is feeding most of these. And that we don't even know how many we are, and that the population is growing at passing the level of economic growth. And he check to the fact that component parts of this country have one complaint or the other. Have you looked at how to address this holistically so that we can reduce our security challenges? It may not solve all, but if we have 60% security challenges and if we take action, it reduces to 30. That 30% difference is huge. Even 5%, even 10%. But standing still and saying no, We are federal government of federal system of a federalist nation in name, but in practice is unitary. It doesn't work.
Senator.
It's just yeah.
Yes, just before we wrap this up and bring the conversation to a close. You are right, you've shared a lot of insights with us, but you know, national security is about software, it's about hardware, it's about men, it's about materials. What's your assessment as somebody who has been reporting security and defense issues over the years of the capacity of our various security agencies? And I ask this question because we oftentimes hear that, oh, some of our men, when they confront armed robbers, they will drop their weapons and run. Or even we've also had cases of soldiers running away from the battlefield. You know, what's your assessment in terms of our capacity to even secure, you know, the borders and protect lives and property?
Whether we have capacity in terms of brave, intelligent personnel, officers and personnel, we do. We have some of the most brilliant minds. Sometimes, if you even see the intelligent capacity of our, you marvel, and some of equipment or whatever we have, you marvel what they are doing. But when it comes to security issues, it's a holistic, there are many layers which have to work hand in hand. Does it mean that those personnel that leave their weapon and run away are not capable? No. But what happened? Maybe their morale are down. Some are complaining that they have been in the Northeast for over 3 years, 5 years. Then a post-traumatic disorder sets in. Some of them are traumatized by what they are seeing in the war front. What happened? At that moment, they are traumatized. And maybe there's no coordination in their operation and they are in disarray. Does it mean they are not capable? They are not. Or you have intelligence which is not acted upon. Does it mean that the personnel are not capable? They are not. But all other factors put into perspective are not working in sync with their capacity and capabilities. Does it need to be enhanced? Yes, it needs to be enhanced. If you check the CIPRI, that's Stockholm Research Institute, Peace and Research Institute recent release, the security military spending is increasing all over the world. The defense budgets are increasing because people are enhancing their research capability here and there, trying to beat, because as they are advancing, the criminals are advancing. So should we need more enhancement and building? Is the capacity you have now enough? No, definitely not. But do we have competent hands? We have. But are the factors that should converge to give us the best available? No. That's a problem we are having.
Well, thank you very much, Senator Iroegbu. On that note, we'll have to thank you very much for appearing on the morning show.